Human males don't eat their mates after mating season? The alien girl was shocked. Eric Moran stretched his muscular frame as the morning light filtered through the thin curtains of his apartment. His bare torso glistened with a faint sheen of sweat from the night before. Running a hand through his messy blonde hair, he padded barefoot into the kitchen, clad only in his black tactical pants. A sweet, unfamiliar scent lingered in the air, likely another of Gira's alien creations. He smiled, recalling the exotic beauty he had spent the night with. Their relationship was still fresh, thrilling, passionate, and at times, completely baffling due to their cultural differences. "Morning, beautiful," he called cheerfully. A sharp metallic clang echoed through the room, making him turn abruptly. Gira stood frozen, her slender form wrapped in that dark green bodysuit that accentuated every curve. The plunging neckline revealed the smooth crimson of her skin, while her silvery white hair cascaded like liquid moonlight down her back. But something was wrong, very wrong. Her expressive eyes were wide with terror. Her normally rich red complexion faded to a startling pink hue. In her trembling hand, she clutched a large kitchen knife, its blade pointed directly at him. Her chest rose and fell in frantic breaths. "Whoa." Eric raised his hands, palms up in surrender. "Gira, what the hell?" "Stay back," she hissed, her melodic voice tight with fear. "I know what happens next." Eric froze, utterly confused. "Next? As in breakfast? Coffee? I was thinking maybe we could—" "Don't mock me," Jira's voice cracked. "I've studied Earth's customs. I know what happens when the female doesn't conceive after the first night." Eric's brow knitted. "When she doesn't what? What are you talking about?" "You're going to eat me," she blurted out, gripping the knife tighter. That's what human males do, isn't it? When mating doesn't result in pregnancy? For a moment, Eric could only stare at her. Then, despite the knife and the genuine terror in her eyes, he couldn't help it. He burst into laughter. Deep, uncontrollable laughter that doubled him over. "This isn't funny," Gira shrieked, though confusion now flickered through her. "Fear. I'm sorry," Eric gasped between chuckles. "But holy hell, Gira, humans don't do that. Where did you even—" "The documentary I watched about Earth's predators. The mantis females eat the males, so I assumed humans must do the opposite, since males are usually larger and more aggressive." Eric wiped tears from his eyes, still grinning. "Sweetheart, we're not mantises. Humans don't eat each other after, well, ever. That's just not a thing." Gira hesitated, uncertainty flickering across her face. "You're not going to eat me?" "The only eating I had in mind was breakfast," Eric said, then winced. "I mean actual food, from the fridge." "But on my world," Gira whispered, her voice barely audible, "if a female doesn't conceive during the first mating cycle, the male has the right to consume her, to reclaim the energy spent during courtship." Eric's laughter died instantly. That actually happens?" Gira gave a solemn nod. "It's why females are so selective. The first mating must result in pregnancy or—" She traced a finger across her throat. "Jesus," Eric breathed, finally understanding her terror. "No wonder you grabbed a knife. But I swear that's not how humans work. We don't eat our mates, ever." Slowly, Gira lowered the knife, placing it on the counter with a soft clink. Her shoulders sagged with relief, but embarrassment quickly flushed her cheeks a deeper shade of red. "I feel foolish," she muttered. Eric stepped closer, gently, taking her hands in his. "Don't. How were you supposed to know? I'm just glad you didn't stab me before I could explain." A small smile tugged at Gira's lips. "I would have made it quick, at least." "How considerate," Eric smirked, pulling her into his arms. She didn't resist, relaxing into him. "So your males actually eat their mates if they don't?" "Get pregnant," he murmured. Gira nodded against his chest. "It's considered honorable. The female provides sustenance so the male can continue his genetic quest. And yet, you still chose to date a human, knowing what you thought might Happen? She pulled back, meeting his gaze with her mesmerizing eyes. I thought I had taken proper precautions to ensure conception. I didn't realize human biology would be so compatible yet different. Eric chuckled. We have a lot to learn about each other. Indeed. Jira finally smiled. Starting with breakfast customs that don't involve consuming one's partner. As Eric pulled her close again, he marveled at the absurdity of the situation. A former Marine-turned-interstellar security consultant explaining to his alien girlfriend that she wasn't on the menu. Not exactly how he'd imagined. His morning going, but as Jira's warmth pressed against him, he realized he wouldn't have it any other way. If pregnancy doesn't occur? Eric asked, sliding a plate of scrambled eggs across the counter to Jira. After the knife incident, they had agreed that breakfast and a cultural exchange were necessary. Jira nodded cautiously, prodding the yellow mass with her fork. Xandorian males produce special digestive enzymes during mating season. If these aren't neutralized by the hormones from successful fertilization, they trigger extreme hunger, directed specifically at the failed mate. Eric nearly choked on his coffee. That's intense. And the females just accept this? It's our way. Jira shrugged, finally taking a small bite. Her eyes widened in surprise. This is delicious. What did you call it again? Scrambled eggs, Eric replied, amused. And don't change the subject. You were ready to stab me. Rather than be eaten. So clearly not all females accept it. Jira's cheeks deepened to a darker crimson. Well, I'm what my people call progressive. I left Xandor to experience other cultures. Most females ensure conception through various means, or they don't survive to complain. Eric shook his head in disbelief. And here I thought, human dating was complicated. What about human mating rituals? Jira asked, eagerly consuming more eggs. Last night was educational, but I realize I've been operating on assumptions. Now it was Eric's turn to blush. Last night had indeed been enlightening for both of them. Jira's physiology had its own fascinating differences, making their encounter uniquely pleasurable. Well, for starters, we usually date for a while before getting intimate, he explained. Though I guess we skipped a few steps. On Xandor, once a female selects a mate, immediate copulation is expected, Jira stated matter-of-factly. The longer you wait, the higher the risk of another male challenging for mating rights. Eric leaned forward, intrigued. So when you invited me over last night, you were formally choosing me as your mate? Jira nodded, then quickly added, But I understand now that humans do things differently. I should have researched more thoroughly. I'm not complaining, Eric grinned, reaching across to take her hand. Just trying to understand, so. In your culture, we're basically married now? Jira tilted her head, silver hair cascading over one shoulder. Not exactly. Marriage implies permanence. The initial mating is more of a trial period. If conception occurs, then a formal bond follows. And if not, dinner time? Eric asked dryly. Precisely. Jira nodded, missing his sarcasm. Though I must admit, the human way seems less final. Just a bit. Eric laughed. So what happens now according to your customs? Jira's expression turned thoughtful. Normally, we would wait to see if conception occurred. But since you're not planning to eat me regardless, her lips curved into a slow smile. I suppose we're free to enjoy each other's company without pressure. The way she said enjoy sent a pleasant shiver down Eric's spine. I like the sound of that. I thought you might, Jira purred, her alien eyes gleaming with mischief. Though I should warn you, Xandorian females become quite demanding once they've chosen a mate. Eric raised an eyebrow. Is that so? Indeed, she murmured, sliding off her stool and moving around the counter. Our biology compels us to strengthen the bond through frequent physical contact. Human males have similar compulsions, Eric admitted, as she stepped between his legs, her fingers tracing light patterns across his bare chest. "How fortunate," Gira whispered, leaning in closer. Biological differences aside, their compatibility was undeniable. Their lips met, the kiss deepening as hands explored with a newfound awareness of each other's bodies. The eggs were forgotten as Eric lifted Gira onto the counter, her legs wrapping around his waist. "Wait," she gasped, pulling back slightly. "I should introduce you to my friends." Eric blinked, momentarily disoriented by the sudden shift. "Your friends? Now?" "Not now." Gira laughed, running her fingers through his hair. "Tonight. There's a gathering at the Cosmic Crossroads. It's an alien-friendly establishment where off-worlders socialize." "You want me to meet your alien friends?" Eric asked, suddenly apprehensive. "What if they expect me to know all their customs? I barely understand yours." "That's why it's perfect," Gira assured him. "It's a cultural exchange." Venue. Mistakes are expected, and often lead to amusing stories rather than offense. Eric considered this. "Will there be other humans there?" "A few," Gira nodded. "Though you'll be the only one dating a Xandorian. My friends are quite excited. They've never met a species that doesn't practice post-mating consumption." "Great," Eric muttered. "I'm a novelty act." Jira's expression softened. "You're much more than that to me. But, yes, to them, you're an exotic curiosity." Her hands slid down to his shoulders. "Does that bother you?" Eric thought about it, then smiled. "Actually, no. On Earth, I was just another ex-military guy. Out here, I'm unique. I kinda like that." "Good." Jira's smile widened. Pulling him close again, Gira whispered, "Because I like you. Unique." As their lips met once more, Eric marveled at how quickly his life had changed. A month ago, he had taken a security job on Nexus Station, expecting just another contract. Now he was dating an alien woman who had once expected him to eat her, and he was about to meet her exotic friends. Life in space was certainly never boring. The Cosmic Crossroads. The Cosmic Crossroads lived up to its name. Situated in the heart of Nexus Station's entertainment district, the establishment pulsed with a kaleidoscope of alien life forms. Holographic stars drifted across the ceiling, casting multicolored light over the diverse clientele. A three-armed bartender mixed drinks with hypnotic efficiency, while a band of gelatinous beings produced haunting melodies by vibrating their membrane-like bodies. Eric tugged at the collar of his navy button-down shirt, feeling distinctly out of place despite his years of interstellar travel. "You didn't mention this was such a high-end spot," he murmured to Gira. She squeezed his hand reassuringly, her crimson skin glowing under the ambient lighting. The silver dress she wore clung to her curves like liquid metal, drawing appreciative glances from various species. "Relax," she murmured. "My friends don't bite, unlike some species here." She winked playfully. Before Eric could respond, a high-pitched squeal cut through the ambient noise. A slender, blue-skinned female with delicate tendrils instead of hair rushed toward them. "Jir, by the 7 moons, you actually brought him." The blue alien circled Eric, examining him with unabashed curiosity. "He's even more magnificent than you described." "Mira, this is Eric," Gira introduced with a hint of pride. "Eric, this is my friend Mira. She's a Quillian." "Pleasure," Eric nodded, trying not to stare at the gently undulating tendrils. "The pleasure is entirely mine," Mira purred, her large, iridescent eyes blinking rapidly. "I've never met a human who's mated with a Xandorian before. Tell me, was it difficult to resist your consumption instincts?" Eric choked on air. "My what?" "Humans don't have consumption instincts," Gira explained patiently. "That's what makes them so fascinating." "No consumption at all?" Mara gasped. "But then, what ensures genetic commitment?" "We use something called trust," Eric replied dryly. Mara's tendrils rippled with amusement. "How charmingly primitive." She gestured toward a semicircular booth. Come, the others are dying to meet you. First contact as they approached the booth, Eric recognized a Vesperian with insect-like features, but the other two species were unfamiliar. Everyone, this is Eric, Mara announced cheerfully. Jira's human mate, who doesn't consume females. Several nearby patrons turned to stare. Eric slid into the booth beside Jira, whispering, "Could she have said that any louder?" "Actually, yes," Jira whispered back. "Quillians can project their voices across entire ecosystems when they want to." The Vesperian leaned forward, compound eyes reflecting the holographic stars. "I am CX. We have many questions about human mating rituals." "I'm sure you do," Eric muttered, accepting a luminescent blue drink from a hovering service drone. "Is it true humans mate for pleasure, even when conception is impossible?" asked a reptilian female with iridescent scales. "That's Ta," Gira explained. "Draconians only engage in physical intimacy during specific fertility cycles." Eric took a large swig of his drink. "Yes, humans can separate reproduction from pleasure." "Fascinating," murmured the fourth alien, a hulking humanoid with stone-like skin. "And you don't consume your partners, regardless of reproductive success?" "Humans don't consume sentient beings. Period," Eric clarified. "We consider it morally wrong." A ripple of murmurs passed around the table. "But what about failed genetic investments?" CX chittered. "How do you recoup the biological resources?" Eric glanced at Jira, who nodded encouragingly. "We don't. We just move on and try again with someone else, if reproduction is the goal." "Such waste," Ta hissed, though her tone suggested admiration, rather than disgust. From across the room, Eric noticed a tall, muscular Xandorian male watching their table with obvious displeasure. His red skin was darker than Gira's, almost burgundy, marked by elaborate tattoos covering his exposed arms. "Who's that?" Eric asked quietly. Gira followed his gaze and stiffened. "Drax, my former suitor." "The one who expected dinner if things didn't work out?" Eric asked, feeling a protective surge, among other things. "Among other things," Gira replied tightly. "Ignore him. He's traditional, even by Xandorian standards." But Drax made that difficult. His glare intensified as he downed a viscous purple liquid. Cultural exchange. "So, Eric," Mara interjected, oblivious to the tension. "Tell us about human courtship. How did you and Gira become mates?" Eric tore his attention away from Drax. "Well, we met at her shop. I needed parts for my security equipment, and she was the only one who carried compatible components. He visited every day for a week before asking me to dinner," Gira added, her hand finding his under the table. "A week?" Ta gasped. "Such patience!" "Humans often engage in extended courtship rituals," Eric explained, warming to the topic. "We get to know each other first, establish compatibility beyond just the biological factors involved in this work," the stone-skinned alien rumbled skeptically. "Our species has survived this long," Eric shrugged. "Though I'll admit, dating Gira has been a unique experience." "How so?" Crix leaned forward eagerly. Eric glanced at Gira, who gave him a small nod of permission. "Well, for starters, I didn't expect to be greeted with a kitchen knife the morning after." The table erupted into various expressions of amusement. Mara's tendrils quivered, Crix's mandibles clicked rapidly, and Tellus's scales shifted colors in amusement. Even the stone-skinned alien rumbled in what might have been laughter. "She actually believed you would consume her." Mara giggled. "Can you blame me?" Gira defended. "All my research on Earth's predators suggested it was possible." As laughter rippled around the table, Eric noticed movement from across the room. Drax was rising from his seat, his movements slow and deliberate as he made his way toward their booth. His expression was thunderous, his muscular frame tense with purpose. "Oh, Jir," Eric murmured. "I think your ex is coming over." Jira turned, her expression hardening. "This could be unpleasant." "Just unpleasant," Eric asked, eyeing the approaching Xandorian's imposing physique. Xandorian males are territorial during mating season, she explained quickly. And it's currently mating season. Of course it is, Eric sighed, straightening in his seat. Any advice? Jira squeezed his hand. Try not to get eaten. The challenged Drax stopped at their table, his towering form casting a shadow over the group. The conversation died instantly, the tension crackling in the air. Up close, Eric could see that the elaborate tattoos covering Drax's arms weren't merely decorative. They were kill markers, each one representing a successful hunt or challenge. Jira, Drax's voice rumbled like distant thunder, you dishonor our people by consorting with this prey species. Eric bristled at being called prey, but kept his expression neutral. Years of security work had taught him when to hold his tongue. My choices are my own, Drax, Gira replied coolly. Nexus Station recognizes my autonomy. Drax's nostrils flared. Station laws cannot override biological imperatives. You selected me first. And you failed the selection process, Gira countered. I owe you nothing. Drax's dark red skin pulsed with anger. You denied me the right of consumption. That is against our ways. Eric couldn't stay silent any longer. Look, buddy, I don't know how things work on your world, but here... Silence, human, Drax snarled. This is between Xandorians. Actually, Eric stood slowly, matching Drax's height if not his bulk. It involves me now. The table fell utterly silent. Even the surrounding patrons seemed to sense the brewing confrontation, their conversations quieting as attention shifted toward them. Drax's lips curled into what might have been a smile on Earth, but on his alien face, it looked decidedly predatory. You wish to challenge me, human? For mating rights? Eric, Gira whispered urgently. You don't understand what you're doing. I understand enough, Eric replied, not taking his eyes off Drax. I'm not letting this guy intimidate you just because of some archaic custom. Mara's tendrils quivered with excitement. Oh my, a challenge ritual. I haven't seen one since the prune delegation visited last cycle. This isn't entertainment, Mara, Gira hissed. Drax crossed his muscular arms. The human accepts the challenge. As is tradition, you will select the trial, Gira. Eric blinked in surprise. Wait, she picks the challenge? Of course, Crix chittered. The female must ensure the superior male prevails. It's biological efficiency. Great, Eric muttered. Gira stood, her silver dress shimmering as she moved, between the two males. I reject the premise of this challenge. Eric is not Xandorian and is not bound by our customs. On the distant planet of Zentara, life thrived in ways unimaginable to humans. The inhabitants, called the Vritra, were tall, slender beings with shimmering skin that changed colors according to their emotions. Mating season was a special time for the Vritra, filled with rituals and celebrations. But news from the stars had caught the attention of one curious Vritra girl named Ilyana. Ilyana was an explorer at heart. With her bright green eyes and flowing blue hair, she was known for her adventurous spirit. One sunny day, while collecting flowers near a glowing river, she overheard a group of elders discussing a strange species called human males. They talked about how human males did not eat their females during mating. Ilyana's eyes widened. She had to learn more. That night, Ilyana sneaked away from her home and climbed into her small spaceship. It was a sleek vessel designed for swift travel across the galaxy. As she set coordinates for Earth, her heart raced with excitement and nervousness. What would she discover about these humans? After a quick journey through the stars, Ilyana landed near a bustling city on Earth. The sounds of honking cars and laughter filled the air. Ilyana transformed her skin to match the colors of the surrounding environment, blending in with the busy streets. She watched humans closely, fascinated by how they interacted. She saw a group of young men and women playing at a park, laughing and sharing food. Ilyana tilted her head in confusion. They were not eating each other? How could that be? Her mind raced with questions. To learn more, she decided to approach them. "Excuse me," Ilyana said, her voice soft and curious. The group turned to her, startled at the sight of a girl with shimmering skin. "Who are you?" asked a tall boy with tousled hair. "I am Ilyana from Zentara." "I want to understand how you humans mate," she replied, trying to explain her fascination. The group exchanged glances, intrigued rather than frightened. "Okay, we can help you with that," said a girl with bright red hair named Lily. "Let's sit down." As they settled on the grass, Ilyana listened intently. The group shared stories about friendship, love, and respect. They described human customs, including how they dated and built relationships. "It's not about eating," said a boy named Jake with a warm smile. "We form connections. We support each other, celebrate together, and share experiences." Ilyana frowned. "But in my culture, mating is a ritual filled with survival and instincts. How do you keep your females safe?" Lily laughed, lightly. "We protect each other because we care. It isn't about survival. It's about love." Ilyana's eyes sparkled as she absorbed this new understanding. Love, she realized, was a powerful force that kept these humans strong. The next few days, Ilyana spent time with her new friends. They painted together, tried strange foods, and danced under the stars. She learned the joy in their laughter and the strength in their bonds. However, as the sun rose on the last day of her visit, Ilyana sensed a sadness in the air. It was time for her to return to Zentara. "I wish I could stay," she said softly, looking at her friends. "You're always welcome back," Jake said, his voice warm and encouraging. "What's important is what you take back with you." With a heavy heart, Ilyana boarded her ship. As she flew back to Zentara, she reflected on the lessons she had learned. Love, she understood now, could bring strength and unity in ways that different customs could illustrate. When she arrived home, the colors of her skin glowed brighter than ever, reflecting her excitement and newfound knowledge. She rushed to her family, eager to share her adventures. "Mother, father, I learned about humans," she exclaimed. Her parents looked at her with curiosity. "What did you discover?" they asked. Ilyana explained how humans cherished bonds of love and friendship, emphasizing that they did not eat each other during mating seasons. Her parents listened carefully, their eyes wide with interest. "They connect through care and emotion," Ilyana concluded. "We can learn so much from them." Her mother smiled warmly. "Perhaps love is the strongest force in the universe. It unites, it protects, and it nurtures." The whole family gathered, and together they talked about the importance of compassion and friendship, bridging the gap between their cultures. From that day on, Ilyana viewed her world differently. She understood that while customs might vary, the essence of connection was universal. With her heart open to new ideas and friendships, she promised to continue exploring the universe, seeking learning and understanding from every corner of existence. And thus, the story of Ilyana, the Vritra girl, became a cherished tale of friendship and understanding on Zentara, reminding everyone that love transcends all boundaries. Xylo, a young Xyla, stared wide-eyed at the strange creatures on the monitor. They were humans, a species she'd only read about in ancient texts. Primitive, violent, and according to legend, prone to consuming their mates during breeding season. Her 3 antennae twitched nervously. This couldn't be right. Her mentor, Zorp, a seasoned Xylar anthropologist, chuckled, a low rumble in his chest. "Impossible, Xylo. Remember, those legends are centuries old. Human society has evolved." Xylo, however, was unconvinced. The data on her screen showed otherwise. The humans, specifically the males, weren't exhibiting any predatory behavior toward the females. In fact, they seemed caring. "They're nurturing them," Xylo whispered. pointing to a scene where a human male was gently stroking a female's hair. They're sharing food, building nests. This isn't what the texts described. Zorp adjusted his spectacles, peering at the monitor. Remarkable. This calls for further investigation. Their investigation began with a deep dive into human culture. Xylo and Zorp discovered a fascinating world far removed from the brutal picture painted in their ancient texts. Humans, it seemed, had a complex social structure with various forms of relationships. The mating season, as it turned out, wasn't a free-for-all of violence and consumption, but a time of courtship and pair bonding. Their research led them to observe a human family. The father, a large, friendly-looking human named Tom, was playing with his young daughter Lily. His wife Sarah prepared dinner. The family interacted with an ease and affection that left Xylo speechless. "See, Xylo?" Zorp whispered. "They don't eat each other. They cooperate, they nurture, they love." But Xylo remained skeptical. The legends were deeply ingrained in her mind. Surely there must be a catch, a hidden layer to this seemingly idyllic human family life. She decided to observe them further, immersing herself in their culture. She manifested a human-like avatar, a young woman named Alex, and infiltrated the human community. She lived with a host family, learning their customs and language. She learned about their emotions, their fears, their joys, and their intricate social interactions. Over time, she witnessed countless acts of kindness and affection between human males and females. She saw fathers playing with their children, husbands helping their wives with chores, and couples sharing intimate moments. She saw expressions of love and support that were completely foreign to her own species. One day, she found herself chatting with Tom at a local park. Tom, oblivious to her alien identity, talked about his love for Sarah and his pride in his daughter. He described their struggles, their joys, their shared dreams. A world of human emotion so vibrant and complex, it shook Xylo to her core. "You know," Tom said, smiling, "sometimes it's tough. Being a dad, being a husband, it's not always easy, but it's worth it. Knowing you have people you love and who love you back, that's everything." His words struck a chord in Xylo. She realized that the legends were not only inaccurate, but had obscured a far more nuanced reality. The humans weren't simply violent and predatory. They were capable of great love, profound sacrifice, and unwavering devotion. The ancient texts had focused only on the potential for violence, ignoring the greater human capacity for empathy and kindness. The next day, Xylo returned to Zorp, her avatar now gone. She spoke with newfound understanding. "The legends are wrong, Zorp. Humans aren't monsters. They're remarkably complex and capable of profound love." Zorp smiled, a genuine smile this time. "I suspected as much. Sometimes ancient texts need a little updating. Your findings are significant, Xylo. This rewrites what we know about human behavior." Xylo nodded, her antennae still twitching slightly, this time from the sheer weight of her new understanding. The humans, she realized, were far more fascinating than she could ever have imagined. They had taught her a valuable lesson: to question everything, to seek truth, and most importantly, to never underestimate the capacity for love and kindness in any species. The ancient legends were wrong, and the discovery was a testament to the boundless wonders of the universe. On the planet Zephyria, strange things were a part of everyday life. The sky shimmered in hues of purple and green, while floating islands drifted lazily above the surface. It was home to various species, including the intelligent Zephyrians, a race with bright blue skin and large, curious eyes. They were a peaceful people, known for their deep knowledge of the stars and their unique culture. One day, a young Zephyrian girl named Lyra was out exploring the lush forests of her home. She had always been fascinated by the different creatures that lived there. Lyra had heard tales of other worlds far away, And among them, she was particularly fascinated by stories of human beings from a planet called Earth. She dreamed of meeting one of them. Lyra had a keen sense of adventure, so when she stumbled upon a strange round object tucked between the trees, she was intrigued. It was shiny and metallic, and she felt a buzzing energy radiating from it. As she touched it, the object suddenly whirred and opened up like a blooming flower. A bright light enveloped her, and when it faded, Lyra found herself on a grassy field under a sky just like her own, but with two suns shining above. In front of her stood a group of humans. They were not as tall as Zephyrians, but had an air of strength about them. Their skin was pale, contrasting with Lyra's blue hue. The humans looked just as surprised to see her. One of them, a tall young man named Jake, stepped forward. His eyes widened in disbelief. "What in the world is that?" he asked, pointing at Lyra. Lyra felt both excited and scared. "I am Lyra, from Zephyria," she said, trying to sound brave. "I come in peace and wish to learn about your culture." Jake blinked in confusion. "From where? You look different." As the group gathered around her, she noticed the other humans whispering to one another. Lyra quickly realized they had never seen an alien being before. This made her more determined to learn about them. She had heard from the elders that humans had strange customs during their mating season, involving foods and rituals she could scarcely imagine. Days turned into weeks, and Lyra stayed with Jake and his friends, learning about their lives. She found their traditions fascinating, especially when they spoke of their mating season. One evening, surrounded by a warm fire, Lyra decided to ask a question that had been nagging her mind. "Jake," she began hesitantly, "I have heard many things about humans. Is it true that during your mating season, males eat their females?" Jake burst out laughing, and soon the others joined in. Lyra felt her cheeks heat up. "What is so funny?" she asked, puzzled. "Who told you that?" Jake finally managed, wiping tears of laughter from his eyes. "That's ridiculous! No, humans do not eat their females. That's a total myth." Lyra's eyes widened in shock. "But I thought all species had unique mating customs. What do you do instead?" Jake scratched his head, trying to find the right words. "In our culture, during mating season, we express love and affection, we dance, and we share meals together. It's a time for bonding, not eating each other." Lyra's curiosity grew. "So, you don't risk your life or each other's during this time. That's remarkable." Jake nodded. "Exactly. We care for each other. We don't see each other as food." His friends chimed in, agreeing with Jake. They talked about love and connection, sharing stories of their relationships. Lyra was captivated. As days passed, Lyra began to understand the depth of human emotions. She participated in their rituals and introduced them to some Zephyrian traditions as well. The friendship began to blossom into something deeper. Lyra found herself growing fond of Jake, his laughter, and the way he cared for his friends. One evening, while standing under the twin suns, Lyra and Jake shared a quiet moment. "I've learned so much from you and your friends," Lyra said softly. "You've shown me that love is about connection." Jake looked into her eyes. "And you've shown me that being different is something to celebrate. You're extraordinary." "Lyra." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the sky, pulling them out of their moment. A group of alien creatures swooped down from the clouds, their wings casting shadows over the field. They were menacing and seemed intent on capturing Lyra. Jake instinctively stepped in front of her. "Stay behind me!" he shouted to her. The humans stood ready to defend their new friend. They engaged in a fierce battle, pushing the creatures back. Lyra watched in horror, feeling helpless. But she remembered her own strength. With her blue skin glowing, she summoned the energy from the planet, sending it towards the creatures. The energy pulsed brightly and disoriented the attackers. giving Jake and his friends a chance to drive them away. Xylo, with iridescent scales shimmering under the spaceship's harsh fluorescent lights, stared at the data pad. The image on the screen showed a group of human males, laughing and sharing what looked like oddly shaped fruits. It was mating season, according to the translated data logs. Xylo couldn't believe her eyes. They aren't eating the females? She whispered, her voice a high-pitched chirp. Captain Rex, a grizzled human with a surprisingly gentle demeanor, chuckled. No, Xylo, that's unusual for your species, isn't it? Xylo, a young scientist from the planet Xylos, nodded sadly. On Xylos, mating season was a brutal affair. Males fought fiercely for dominance, and the weaker females were often consumed as a display of strength and a source of nourishment. It was simply their way of life. It's barbaric, Rex commented softly, studying her face. He had learned some of her language and knew the sadness in her eyes was genuine. He had expected the shock, but the depth of her sadness surprised him. But why? Xylo asked. Their mating rituals, they seem peaceful. Rex leaned back, considering how to explain the complexities of human courtship. Well, it's not exactly peaceful all the time. But the males compete in different ways, he explained. They try to impress the females, not devour them. He called in Dr. Anya Sharma, a human anthropologist specializing in primitive cultures, a field that, ironically, proved incredibly relevant to understanding Xylo's alien perspective. Anya explained it further. These humans, specifically from this particular society on Earth, have complex social structures. The males present gifts, they sing songs, they compete in games of skill and strategy. Xylo listened intently, her three eyes darting between Rex and Anya. She found the concept completely foreign. Gifts? Songs? What purpose do these things serve? On Xylos, strength is the only measure of worth. It's about attracting a mate, proving oneself worthy of producing offspring, Anya explained. It's a competition, yes, but one based on courtship rather than predation. Xylo processed this information slowly, her antennae twitching. The idea of males not only not eating their females, but also actively vying for their attention through elaborate displays of non-violent competition was profoundly alien to her. And the females, they choose? Xylo asked, a hint of awe in her voice. Indeed. The females are not passive participants, Anya confirmed. They have considerable influence in the selection process. It's a cooperative endeavor, not a conquest. Xylo found this concept even more astonishing than the absence of cannibalism. On Xylos, female choice was limited to survival. Choosing a stronger mate meant a better chance of offspring survival. That night, Xylo requested access to more data. She immersed herself in hours of recordings, observing human interactions during mating season. She saw males offering flowers, composing poems, performing acrobatic feats. The data even showed evidence of male-to-male friendships and cooperation in securing resources for potential mates. It was a fascinating spectacle of social complexity, so different from her own culture. She saw instances of conflict, of course, arguments, jealousies, even some fistfights over trivial matters. But the violence was far removed from the brutal life-or-death struggles of Xylos. As days turned into weeks, Xylo's fascination with humans deepened. She began to understand their social dynamics, their complex emotions, and their surprisingly intricate courtship rituals. She even started to see a certain beauty in their nonviolent competition. The concept of a partner being chosen for qualities other than physical strength was revolutionary for her. One evening, while studying images of human weddings, ceremonies, that marked the formal union of a chosen pair, Xylo turned to Rex. "Captain," she said, her voice softer than before. I am starting to understand." Rex smiled. "Understanding is the first step, Xylo. And perhaps," Xylo continued, a shy smile gracing her scaled lips. Perhaps there is more to life than simply survival of the fittest. The idea that cooperation, kindness, and even romance could have a purpose more profound than mere survival was truly something new and wondrous, a revelation she would take back to Xylos, even if it would challenge the very core of her people's beliefs. The humans, she realized, were not just different. They were, in their own way, remarkably sophisticated.